Till Elisabet Vinberg Hearn.
On the 13th of July 2014, the German football team won the World Championship. Does anyone remember? Did anyone see it? Were they a good team? They were a very good team. When you look at them and when you look at how they actually work together, you'll be amazed to see what they were doing as a team. And I was curious about them, because I'm curious about teams, and I love teams. So I had a little look at them to see what they'd been doing. And as it turns out, they'd become a fantastic team thanks to a failure. Yeah? Anyone afraid of doing something wrong? Yeah, exactly. They had actually, in 2000, the German team came last in the European Championships. And this was a disaster for Germany. Germany is a good, football country. So they took a lot of time to say, you know what, we want to get this right. There was a lot of soul searching going on. They were really thinking about, what do we need to do to build a great team? And they decided it had to take time. So they planned and they allowed for a lot of development. They focused a lot on developing young players to be able to deliver later on. So they weren't in a rush. They knew they had to take their time. And they were able to create an incredible team spirit. And that team spirit came from a shared ownership. They were all really there together. They were all dependent on one another. It was more about the team than any stars within the team. And it's a really cool thing when that happens, because that's when teams become really great. There is that shared ownership. Everyone's doing this together. And if you look back in the workplace, it may not always work that way. We spend loads of time at work. Loads of time. A lot of people say they actually spend more time with their colleagues than they do with their friends and family. Would you agree? Yeah, probably true, right? So it has to work. It has to be really, really good. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to work in such a way that you think, you know what, I am happy it's Monday morning. I'm supposed to go to work. It's a good thing. I don't mind. But very few teams plan. You sort of get to work, you do specific things maybe, but where's the plan? There may be some goals, but the plan, how are we going to work together? How's this all going to, how are we going to function together? That rarely happens, and it sort of needs to happen. It needs to happen for a team to be really great. I met a sales team once with a great group of individuals. They were all very successful salespeople, and they did, as much sales as they possibly could, or so they thought. They saw themselves almost like competitors with one another, even though they were working on different regions. But after having been prompted, they decided, okay, let's see if we can do something more if we actually come together. So they started getting together in their sales meetings, and they put away forecasts, they put away the sort of the normal number sharing that would go on, and they started just talking. They started sharing. They started talking about the battlefield that is the sales, right? And all of a sudden, they started to not just have their own insights, they got everyone else's as well. So they had the experience, not just their own, but the others. And they kept doing this quite a lot, and within a year, they had managed to double their sales. And everyone stood there and said, how weird, we should have done this earlier. Well, but better late than never, right? But it's not unusual. So what this team was doing, it's not an unusual thing. A lot of the time, people just work side by side and maybe now and then talk to each other about something, but do you really collaborate? Do you really have, deep-going conversations around what's fun about this and how can we make this better? Really sharing what you know. I know a lot of people that say knowledge is power, right? And therefore, I'm keeping my knowledge to myself. Well, actually, knowledge is not power. There's nothing powerful about it until you start giving it away. Because when you start giving it away, you get more. And you give it away and you get more. You give it away, you get more. And you know what? Things are changing so fast. So for the future, the only way to go is to share. It's not going to be possible. No one has all the answers. You absolutely need the other people with you, the people you're working with, to have that interaction and that kind of sharing that goes on. Do you think you do enough of that? Do you think you have enough of that kind of sharing at work? No, rarely do I see people say that. And it is possible, though. You can absolutely do it. Because otherwise, if you just work side by side, imagine if you take the metaphor back into the football field again, imagine a team of football players who are all just playing for themselves. I'm going for the ball. I can see he's going to, and I don't mind. If I get there first, I win. It wouldn't work. But yet at work, we sometimes just accept it. That people are just doing their thing. They're not always thinking about everyone else. But when you do, magic starts to happen. When you really create that kind of team where people go and they find, actually, I'm in such a good place here, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to absolutely give it my all. Now, I speak about teams and leadership and work with organizations all around the world when it comes to teams, leadership, culture. And it's interesting to see that the whole thing of team is a very international thing. The way people work together is pretty similar, wherever you go. And I, together with a colleague of mine who does a similar line of work as mine, we decided to sit down and try to capture what we knew about teams and thought maybe there's a way we can sort of write this down. And we ended up writing a couple of books on teams. And the latest one came out last autumn, and we named it Leading Teams, 10 Challenges, 10 Solutions, because we found that actually there are so many challenges out there that teams share. So I reckon you'd probably recognize a number of them. And I can't actually cover all of them because I haven't got the time for that today. But if there are a few things, when we really took a step back and looked at what is it then that creates a really good team? What is it that needs to happen? Then the first thing I would say is the decision. You need to decide to create a team. Team rarely happens just by magic or sort of, we just happen to do quite well here. Sometimes it does because you manage to get a good group of people together and they like each other. But imagine what such a group could do if you actually planned to do something great with them. Imagine planning and saying, this is what we want to achieve as a team, and really take it from there. And from the decision comes the planning. And from the planning comes actually doing what you're planning, right? Which is often sometimes the problem. You have a lot of good ideas, but the follow-through can be tricky. But then, some of the key things to think about, and if I want you to take something away from this today, is this whole idea of really talking to each other. Talk to each other, share things, get to know each other, like each other. That's where it happens. If you don't get together and know something about one another, it's really, really hard to gel as a team. So you absolutely need that. Now, I have a cousin who's a professional ice hockey player. So, and it sounds like I'm really sporty, right? Because I'm keeping in the sport world. But I somehow like the way things work in the sport world. We talked about teams once, and he said to me, well, if you don't give 100%, you don't get to play. You're on the bench. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's true, right? But is that true at work? Not necessarily. And I think there's something there for all of us to think about, to say, when I'm at work, when I'm there, when I'm working with other people, am I giving my 100%? Or at least 90 or 80, but as much as I possibly can. Sometimes we get so just caught up in the work that we forget that actually we have a role to play as a team player as well. And almost think about yourself as an ice hockey player. I don't want to be on the bench. I actually want to be in there. Because what happens in a team and the way a team functions, and the only way to get to a winning team, it's everyone's responsibility. It's not just the leaders. And I agree, leaders have a big part in this and often need to create the environment where this can happen. But it doesn't have to be down to the leader alone. We all have a part in that. And anyone and everyone who wants to be in a better team, whether you're a leader of a team or a member of a team, can do something about it. And I think one of the most important things that we can do is to just get to know each other. Get to know each other well, talk about things, really understand one another. Because then you can also start to understand how to best work together, how to respond to other people. And I know one of the things that I've done that's probably been the most effective is to have every week when I've been in teams, to have breakfast together. One of the most fantastic things you can do together. Really just sit down, enjoy breakfast, laugh, have fun. Because it's not just all about work. It's not just about getting together in meetings to talk about worky things. You sometimes just need to talk about general things. You just need to talk about yourselves as well, because that actually creates a winning team. So that's why fika is so good. I have to say, I know a number of people have talked about fika today. It's a fantastic thing. And every organization used to have fika breaks, and I don't think everyone has anymore. So I say, bring it back. Bring back the fika. Thank you.